Thank you very much, first of all. Thank you very much, Binod, for having accepted the invitation to talk with me today. We are at the University of Salerno. You are here, first, you're Binod Tiwari, for those of you who don't know you, from California State University at Fullerton. And you're here at the University of Salerno because you've been just teaching at the LARAM School 2018. Can you tell us something about this experience? We can start this conversation talking about LARAM and it's the first time you teach at LARAM School. What did you think about it? First of all, what did you teach? Tell us something about what you did, and then maybe as a second question, what did you think about the students, the class?
Yeah, thank you. You see, when I heard a lot about LARAM School before, because I work on landslides, right? So when I got an invitation from the school to be in the scientific committee from 2018 to 2020, I felt I was honored with that. So I mean, I didn't delay by more than maybe 5 minutes to say yes, I'm excited to join, because I saw the list of people who were involved since the beginning, and I personally like I really admire the idea of Professor Cassini on creating this type of opportunity for international students or researchers, right? So I thought, I looked into the list and I saw world-class, experts, came here to teach classes. So how often the students get opportunity to listen to those world-class people? So that actually, that impressed me, and I decided, okay, I'll take off a week from my regular, busy calendar from California.
Oh, because you are teaching and you're already in the semester of
teaching. We already started our
semester
last week. So this is second week of the semester. But I thought, okay, I'll go and at least I can contribute to the program a little bit. Plus, I will learn a lot from the program itself. So this is my first time in Salerno itself. And I got a chance to meet with few colleagues who talked to the class, and the colleagues from here. From this morning when I went to the class, and first thing I did was I asked them, okay, where you are from? What is your area of expertise? What is your academic standard? Are you a PhD student or are you already postdoc? And what do you want to learn from this program? And I was so amazed to see. You had 40 students. Out of that, only one was from this school. Remaining were really, I would call, even though few of them are from Italy, 8, 9, but they are not from here, from somewhere. So it is really international. And I saw people from China, I saw people from Africa, I saw people from India, Japan. At the same time, I saw people from US, Canada. So you see, you're covering all continents. And I saw people from New Zealand. So you see, from that light, you covered all continents to bring the students who are doing research on different aspects of landslides. And then they are getting chance to know each other. At the same time, they are getting chance to, get lectures from so-called. I call others are the experts. I'm so-called expert.
No,
so from the I would say well-known people in the world. Exactly. And how often do you get that opportunity? No. So providing a platform for the international experts to come to Salerno and give a lecture. And even for the experts to know each other. It's a venue for us to know each other. At the same time, you see, for the students to hear from all these experts in next, in 2 weeks is amazing opportunity. And when I saw the cluster of the students, you see, some of them are geotechnical engineers working with micro level analysis like seismic slope stability analysis, deep-seated landslides, and some of them are doing seismic hazard or any seismic or non-seismic hazard assessment for landslide, risk analysis, hazard analysis, and some of them are engineering geologists who are working on the micro scale landslide monitoring and control works. Some of them are even agricultural engineers who are working in landslide. Some of them even are geographer, physical geographer. You see, from all over the world, different discipline together, learning each day. I mean, my class was an earthquake-induced landslide, so I talked a lot about earthquake. I didn't touch rainfall, anything. But you see, then you have some expert who talk about rainfall. You have some experts who use remote sensing technology. That way, they will sit down in the same framework, and they learn all these aspects of landslide hazard mitigation within 2 weeks in I would say comprehensive framework.
That's the idea
that you are doing. And you see, one part maybe because they are PhD students in their second year, first year, third year, and then they are fresh PhD, fresh doctors, I would say. That you see, if you are PhD student working with your mentor, you're focusing in one aspect.
Exactly.
Right? But this will give the students opportunity to learn another aspect of the landslide hazard analysis and mitigation. I would say mitigation is more important, and then bring from here and work with other students. And believe me or not, this cohort of 2018 that you have, you'll not be surprised that they will collaborate in future. Eventually, either they will be researcher or they will be professors in their field, right? So then they need to know. I mean, they cannot focus in one aspect because you have to move with the demand of the time. So they may end up doing their PhD in one aspect of the landslide hazard mitigation, but you see the geographic need for they cannot fix the university they are going to as a professor. So maybe that area, let's say if you're working in heavy rainfall induced landslide now, and they're working in a place where they have the seismically seismically active area. So this will give them idea on how you in comprehensive way how you do landslide hazard management, and they can expand their vision from that point. Plus the second thing the students can learn from this is networking among themselves. So you see, I mean, in future, one will be professor in one university, let's say in Italy, the other will be professor in UK, the third will be professor in Africa, right? Then that will increase the network. And then I admire that you have been doing this for decades.
It's true. I can tell, because you are saying in the future that will happen for the class of 2018, but I can already tell you that for many classes that we already had at LARAM, it happened. Of course, people that have been attending, students that have been attending LARAM are still in their, the ones that are continuing in academia, still in their early early years of their career. But for instance, two of the professors this year, Professor Peduto and Professor Mazzulli, they were former LARAM students. So it's true. I mean, the networking, I can confirm that it's something that it's
that's amazing.
Happening.
Yeah, I mean, it should be happen. So, and I really appreciate the effort that the University of Salerno, you guys, Professor Cassini, I would say the vision you had on the program, it's amazing. So I wish one day I may be able to collaborate with you guys and to host one LARAM training program in California.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
We are in the heaven. Southern California is heaven of landslides. So.
A lot of places in the world, as we know, are heavens of landslides. So like here in Italy, in Europe, we are a country that is very heavily affected. But as we saw this morning, many people from China are here, and China is another. And then you are from Nepal.
I'm originally from Nepal,
and that's another place where
absolutely. So
especially for your topic. Today's topic was earthquake-induced landslides, when Nepal maybe could be considered one of the places on Earth where things happen.
Absolutely, yeah. We may end up doing this in Nepal at one point.
Oh, who knows? Yeah. Moving away from the LARAM school, to continue this conversation on topics of research that you are addressing related to landslides. Okay, this morning in the introduction to the students, I was there, you mentioned that you are working in many different, at the same time, with many different topics, and maybe year after year your research topics shift according to the needs of the society as well as your needs. What are you currently working at mainly, and can you tell us something about your current research?
So I have four main research area now. I would say five. You see, one is definitely landslides. This is in my blood. So, but you see, the gear in the landslide research changes frequently. But my big framework of the research is effect of pre and post earthquake rainfall on triggering landslides. So this is a big theme I'm working on, and I do experimental modeling using shake table. I do using the rain simulator system, where I apply real rainfall for artificial slopes that I make. So this thing is going, and I collaborate with my hydrology colleagues, my computer engineering colleagues, computer science colleagues, to develop programs on bottom line is we're saving life of people by doing this. So I would say more forecasting and warning system, more robust forecasting warning system we can develop based on the deterministic analysis. So I'm working on that. It's one area I'm working on consistently. The other area I'm working on it is also related to landslides, but it is more not used on landslide now anymore, but it is very popular. So I'm the only person in the world who characterized low density cellular concrete. If the density of the concrete is 20 kilonewton per meter cube, it's 1/3 of the density of 2 kilonewton per meter cube. Oh. So it's 1/3 of the density of water, 1/10 of the density of soil. So you see, we use this for the mechanically stabilized earth retaining wall. So I measured the static property of this, dynamic property of this, correlated the strength of this concrete with the density of the concrete itself, right? So I had two visions on this. One, I thought, okay, we'll use that for a mechanically stabilized earth retaining wall. That's one geotechnical application. Second, I thought, well, there's so many places in the world where they had no option than adding soil on the failed slope because of landslides. But they have to run the traffic. So what they would do is, at the crown of the slope, they are adding soil to make this slope more vulnerable. Exactly. Right? But then, and I thought, okay, if you can replace that soil with the soil, which is 1/10 of the weight of the soil you are using, you can do all those things. That's, let's say, 100, 200 meter stress you can do in one day, very quickly. And then you are not adding anything. You are not even adding water. It's just very light, let's say, cotton candy layer on top of the soil, and then that will significantly reduce the impact. So that was my vision. So this is the second thing I'm doing, and this is my current research. I do webinar on that regularly. Third thing I do is ground improvement. So you see, when you have earthquake coming in, especially soft clays, the ground motion amplifies when it comes to the ground. And you see the acceleration, peak ground acceleration amplifies when it comes to ground. So we are using soil cement reinforcement panels. Let's say total ground you have, if you take 5-10% of the plan area of the soil, you mix cement, that soil with the cement for maybe 5-10 foot depth only, you can reduce the ground acceleration significantly. So that's one of our big research. I mean, we got close to $1 million from National Science Foundation in 2012 to work on this, and we do shake table modeling, and few of our colleagues at UC Davis, they did centrifuge modeling on that. So this is second year ground improvement. I'm consistently working on that. Third thing I'm doing is, this is my traditional research. You see, we geotechnical engineers, we talk, we cannot forget rock and soil. We're working on rocks and soils.
It's a material.
Yeah, right. The property of the material, no matter whether you are in, the condition will be different. Let's say you're in Italy, I'm in US, I do research in Japan, Nepal. So I personally think that everything depends on mineralogy. So soil is made from rock. So what I'm doing is I'm classifying the fundamental property of the soil based on the mineralogy. That is, the residual friction angle of the soil. My chart is, my research on residual friction angle is known in the world. So residual fully softened friction angle. At the same time, I do dynamic property change. When you have earthquake loading, how the shearing resistance of the soil decreases during earthquake. So what type of soil reduces strength during earthquake, what type of soil is fine. So this I'm doing, and I'm consistently producing new charts every year. And I also do the impact of salt water on the shearing resistance of the soil, especially for coastal area. It's very important to see if the salt is getting released. Are you getting a lot of landslides? Yes, we're getting a lot of landslides. So this is the other area I'm working on. And the fifth area I'm working on in the recycling materials. So I published a few articles on that. So like shredded rubber tires we get all over the world, and then people are dumping that in the landfill site. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing those tires, shredding them, and then using, let's say 2, 3, 4% of that tire in highly expansive soil. Sand, you don't need to worry about anything, but sand is good. Yes. But mostly as a researcher, we need to spend a lot of effort to see how we can change the property of the expansive soil. So that is another research I'm doing since past 6-7 years. So these are nearly my research area.
A lot of topics, as I was mentioning in my question, you're addressing at the same time at a very high level, all of them. Moving on from your research and going back to landslides and landslide risk, the topics that we're addressing here at the LARAM school. What do you think that the research community must achieve yet, must work on, because it's really lacking there, because like the society really needs some answers to things that are not already there? Where should we go? Where should we address?
Well, you see, taking, my current position is like, international consortium on landslides, right? So I'm the vice president of the consortium. Exactly. So what that consortium does is every 3 years we do World Landslide Forum, and then you might have participated.
Yeah, last one was in Ljubljana, and the next one will be in Kyoto in 2020.
So we try to bring in, you see, the beauty about International Consortium on Landslides is, in that consortium, you have people from all disciplines of landslides. So you have geotechnical engineers like you and me. We have engineering geologists. We have the geomorphologists. We have hardcore science researchers who are working on landslides, like mineralogists. Like we also have social scientists. Recently, we started having even the legislatures. So what we do is, landslide is not one problem. You see, engineers can solve. You see, landslide has multi-phases, so everyone should work together. Now the thing we are lacking in the world, it's not only at the world academic community is lacking coordination. So it is, you see, a lot of things I am doing in my institution, you don't need to repeat them. Right? What you do is you learn from that, and whatever you are doing, you teach me. That way we work together. Bottom line is we work for the betterment of the people, reduce the landslide hazard, right? So, and if we can collaborate, not only interdisciplinary, mainly international, like my chart I have for prediction of friction angle, prediction of strength loss during earthquake, right? If I can work on the soil from Italy, let's say, then I can comprehend my chart. That way, you see, there is a need of comprehensive international collaboration to work towards reducing, landslide hazard risks. We can go minute. Things have changed significantly. Now, world is becoming smaller.
Yeah, it's not difficult to interact, but at the same time, paradoxically, it's maybe difficult to find, groups that really work together and not just know each other and get their things done separately. So really working together is not that easy, and therefore it doesn't happen very often. When it happens, I totally agree with you. When it happens, it makes a difference in what you're producing.
Absolutely. So what I'm seeing is, you see, few countries they have that. You see, few countries they have. Let's say you have landslide problem, right? Then you may have that in Italy. We don't have that in the US. When you have landslide problem in the country, it could be federal scale, it could be state scale, it should be county scale, right? Then the academic institutions are given opportunities to work with the real world problem. So their funding is given. The job of the academic institution is like a consulting to the consultant, because they can do everything, but the academic institutions are high level researchers, right? Consultants, you don't need to do high level research because your job is to solve the problem. So between federal government or state government and those consultants, if the academic institutions can do research for those things, that way, if you know what happened during one incident, your job should be not to let it happen again. For that, you need research, right? You need to flow. I mean, that's wherever I go in the world, I tell you need to energize academic institutions. You need to give support, especially you need to increase the research support. You need to give support to the students, fellowship or whatever you do, to the student. That way, these students are future, experts. And then, you see, if you are preparing them in school, then they are going to industry after they graduate, and then they can work in a better understanding with the problem. So I think the biggest thing is coordination between the implementing agency, because we are institutions, we cannot implement things, right? So and we don't
our job is not that.
No, we don't even have time to do consulting, big level because consultants are there. Our job is to train the consultant and then coordinate between the government
to get in
and the
when
consultant.
Something very special arises, of course, but not.
So that coordination should be there. And the coordination, even in the university, coordination between different disciplines, like even social aspect, right? So if we have there, and I mean, let's say we may end up having that in next decade or so, that will make the society more idealistic. But we should, what I'm seeing is, a lot of countries I go, funding for research is going down. And US is tremendously going down.
There is no exception to that, unfortunately.
And then hazard, I'll tell you the hazard memory. Some people think 1 year, 2 year. For me, the maximum memory for the natural disaster is 6 months.
Oh, that's a very short time.
It is, because after 6 months, after everything is, after the emergency thing is done in that place, even in US, people forget you have big disaster on that. So, you see,
yes, surely the attention of the media starts to disappear very soon, and therefore that you say has a major influence on.
Once the media is gone, then the government authority are keeping quiet because it requires money. But you see, what I personally think is they should increase the research funding to academic institutions as opposed to reducing them. That way, at least the good thing is, you see, students are very very cheap to operate with, because I'm not talking about the quality of it. You see, they're great thing, but how much money you are giving to a consultant outside to do the same thing. But students are doing that in super high scale as opposed to the consulting company.
Exactly.
And then they are focusing into one problem, and then at the same time, you see, those students are future of the country. Because they are the people going to government.
Double benefit on this side.
They are going to government. Their thinking process will be different. They are going to consulting industry. Their thinking process will be different. And they are going to academia. That way they are teaching, those things. What I personally hate is paper type research. If you are just doing research for the sake of doing research, and if you cannot implement that, I'm an engineer. You are an engineer. For me, anything that you cannot implement doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so, okay. As engineers, yes, we are researchers, teachers, and engineers at the same time. Both of us, because we are teaching. So our, of course, brain works in a way that combines the three things together. We also, when we do research, we're still engineers, and when we do teaching, we're still researchers, of course.
Absolutely. So from that light, I think there should be more. If I summarize it, there should be more interdisciplinary collaboration. There should be healthy there should be competition, but there should be healthy competition among the people. And there should be more international collaboration within the same discipline. There should be more, research funding, national level, international level, even county and the local government level to support the research going on in academic institution.
To close this conversation, brief conversation, very pleasant conversation, another role that you have for ICL is that you are editing, you are one of the editors of the Landslide journal, that is the major journal of ICL, of course, but it's a major journal worldwide dealing with landslides. I mean, the title of the journal says it. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us something about, I don't know, one article or maybe an issue or maybe some themes, something that in the past few years is worth a recommendation for our listeners and readers? Would you recommend anything that came out on that journal more than other? I'm not sure. I agree. I understand. It's difficult maybe to ask pinpoint a single paper, but can you tell us something? Or maybe you could tell us your experience about how it is to work in that journal.
This journal is, you know that based on the impact factor, it has been number one for the past 5 years, consistently number one. And then the impact factor between 1 and 2 is significantly different. That's mainly because it is, yes, it is super competitive to get into a paper into that journal. We have a few executive editors, few from Italy too, and every week we meet and we look into the paper, right, and see whether that it is worth it to send it to in-depth review or not. Otherwise, we just reject it right away, because there is no sense to tell them after a year that your paper get rejected, right? So either they do more research on that, or they find another venue to publish the thing. So, and it is a full color journal, and then our review process is pretty quick. So, because it's a full color, mostly, when you are working on Landslide, you want to see full color thing, right? So even in printing, it is a full color journal, so that's good. But the more on top of everything, this is you see, like I am editor of Journal of Geotechnical and Geoenvironmental Engineering, but the aspect we are looking into the Journal of Geotechnical and Geoenvironmental Engineering is we are looking geotechnical engineering aspect only, right? But this journal is so comprehensive. We have social aspect, we have political aspect. You can publish that. You can do a hardcore geotechnical mechanical thing. You can do numerical simulation. You can do experimental verification or experimental. You can also do recent landslides. You have landslide in your country. You can publish a paper quickly to tell people, hey, this is the type of landslide we had. So if you want to do further research on that. So this is the preliminary information, right? And we can also do technical notes, case study papers, right? So so many things we do on that. But my big tips to it always looks into the innovative research idea, always. So if your research is not innovative, then it is filtered right away. I'll tell you example of non-innovative. A lot of times we get paper rejected right away in 5 days. Is I made a landslide hazard map of this zone, this area, or this county, or this village, or this watershed, using geology, soil type. You see, using geology, superimposing geology, soil type, all those things are good. But you see, we are way beyond that in the research. If it would have been 30 years ago, it could be published. Now we are beyond that, right? And then if you're publishing something that does not make sense, you see, the bottom line is, if you're producing something and then you're publishing, you should be able to give lesson to the landslide research community, what you added into it, and how I can replicate that in my country. Let's say you're doing in Italy and you're doing fantastic job, but see, the content should be good enough for me to do the same thing in my country and see whether that works in my country or not. So this is what we are looking into. Plus, a lot of times we get numerical simulations. It's easy to produce the paper with the numerical simulation. But you see, if it is only the numerical simulation, we agree. If it is theoretical, if you are making new equation based on the fundamental theory of physics, mathematics, chemistry, whatever we have, and that's the theory that we had never seen in our life, yes, that gets placed because it's a new thing, right? But if it is just using software that we have, or even writing a code in the software to produce the hazard map or to do something without verification, practical verification, it gets rejected. So the best is amazing that I personally, if I'm reviewing that, because all executive reviewers, we review them. All of us, we read all those papers. But for me, my thing to take, yes, we need to send it to the in-depth review is this. If you have nice experiment, a nice setup, good objective, why you are doing this, and you are doing this for specific reason, because we have this problem. That problem is not addressed by any of the literature in the past. Then you're setting up numerical simulation on that, and then you're getting results based on. Numerical is just for me. Numerical thing is just it's not simplification. You're solving the simplified problem, complicated problem in a simplified way, saving your time. So you're just saving your time, right? Otherwise, for me, numerical thing is garbage in, garbage out. Could be, right? So if you have either your verification in a small scale lab experiments, or amazing would be field, because no one can trump the field data. So if you are putting your monitoring stations in the field, and not regular, but if you're developing some idea out of it, new idea out of it, rather than just saying that, oh, this landslide moved by 2 centimeters per year, and then we did monitoring for 2 years, and this is the total displacement we are getting. This doesn't make sense, right? But if you're connecting that with a theory or concept with the landslide study, landslide research, that flies. That may be every year. That every year we give 1 award out to the best paper. You may end up getting best paper award for that. So we're looking into the innovation, but verified field situation. So no one can trump the field data. No, field is field. What you are working.
Field tells you the truth, and then we are modeling. We are thinking about ways of
But if your
understanding,
if your model is calibrated for the field data, that is the best.
Thank you very much, Binod,
My
for
pleasure.
this conversation.
My pleasure.
We'll see you soon somewhere, and thank you for this. Bye.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.